This is Manuel Lirio from Chiropractic Economics magazine here at the Parker Seminar. I'm here with Ed Miller from Impact. How are you today?
Thank you very much. Privileged to be here. Privileged to be talking with you. And thank you for that setup. We're here with the ArthroStem. That's what we manufacture. We're Impac Inc. here. Dr. Creed here is adjusting. Hopefully you can hear me, but Dr. Creed has been doing this for over 20, 30 years, right? So he's a real pro in adjusting, and he's serving all these docs over here. He's the doctor to the doctors today. And if I could show you my picture here, which you can't really see, we have Elvis on tape here being adjusted by Dr. Creed with these instruments. And of course, Elvis really did benefit from it. He's been working hard at a booth down the way over here. So we're enjoying ourselves. We invite anybody who's watching this next year to be here at the Parker Show so that we can serve them and let them have an idea of why instruments would actually greatly enhance a practice. So you could have both manual and instrument techniques working side by side, integrating them, as this Dr. Creed has found for so many years to be very rewarding. Rewarding if you're a cash practice, it's rewarding even if you are an insurance type practice. And with the vibrocussor, you bring a greater soft tissue dimension. You have a greater appreciation for that fascia, the release of that fascia. The fascia is 2,000 pounds per square inch. Basically it has adapted to a scoliosis. And if you're adjusting the scoliosis, and somehow maybe neglecting the fascia as and releasing of it, perhaps that's why you're getting a slower result. Perhaps with the vibrocussor, bringing more of those things that are available to you into play, it'd be wonderful. Another factor is with this doc over here, he adjusts mostly to people from a sitting position, and it works great. And should you find yourself in a position like that, perhaps there's great advantage to having an instrument that allows you to practice with one hand, with another hand, or from a seated position or such like that. So it's a privilege talking with you today, and I guess I better get back to work here.
Well, before we get off, can you tell me a little bit about the instrument itself? There's a lot of doctors that are not aware, that don't know exactly what's involved in an instrument adjustment. How exactly does that work? What is the learning curve from then switching from manual adjustment to instrument? How does that work?
Well, for most people, with their expectations of their instrument, they just actually transfer from a manual technique where they're doing motion palpation already, or they have a discernment, leg checks or such, and they're basically exchanging a P-to-A adjustment with the hands for a P-to-A adjustment with the instrument. Now, we like to enhance that. We like to bring more protocols so that they're standing the people up, correcting the forward head posture. We like to introduce them to Dr. Dennis Wogan and the Scoliosis Clear Institute so they can take 80-degree scoliosis to 30-degree scoliosis predictably, save the girls from the rods and such like that. Those are wonderful techniques. The baby adjusters and CBP uses the same instruments. We like to introduce them to those protocols. CBP uses mirror imaging. It works great with mirror imaging, and people should understand mirror imaging. And one of our avenues is just to draw them in to studying with those techniques, because the instrument performs now for some pretty close to about 20 different techniques. So we would just like to introduce the people to those techniques so that they can see that the instrument's versatile enough. You can take a fork adapter off and you can put a smaller fork or a ball end sleeve. You can do torque type techniques, right? You can be modulating. You can pump the instrument. You can be light then heavy, light then heavy, light then heavy, and such like that. So there's great advantages to the ArthroStem. There's great advantages to the vibrocussor here. The vibrocussor and the therapy edge brings you into the Graston, the gua sha, the cross friction, the cross fiber, the scar tissue work, but it's done with the edge of the blade on the vibrocussor itself, right? So those are some of the things that we'd love you to stop in and introduce, and probably easier than on the, in a dynamic like this. This is a great dynamic, but that teaching dynamic of hands-on and to be able to work that instrument on the body is a real treasure and a privilege for us to serve in that way.
If the doctor wanted to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
Well, We advertise in all the major magazines. As you're looking right now, you have the website impacinc.net, right? You could look under the word arthrostem, the vibracursor. Any of those keys would get you there, right? You also would find us in Salem, Oregon. That's where we're located. We actually do the manufacturing, the building, the design, the development, but we use all 20 techniques, the feedback of all these 20 techniques. And if motion x-ray is playing in the background, which is not, but you see Dr. Wogan does much of his work on motion x-ray. So you can see the effectiveness of the instrument on motion x-ray. We were actually one of the first to ever do motion x-ray type research, and that was with Dr. Ed Blumenthal there with Vern Pierce and such like that. So it was very exciting times we've been in the last 30 years. So these instruments have been available to you the last 30 years, and if you haven't checked into them, it's time now to do that. We sure appreciate it very much if we could serve you and provide you with an instrument.
Ed, thank you so much for meeting with us today.